This is the Edexcel Paper 2 calculator paper from November 2023. Question 1, write down two factors of 18. So the factors of 18 are the numbers that multiply together to make 18. So we can have, to make 18, we can get 1 times 18, 2 times 9, or 3 times 6. So the factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. And we just need to write down two of them. So 2 and 3. Any of them would be okay. Question 2, write 0.9 as a fraction. We can use our calculator for this one. So if we type in 0.9, press equals, we get a fraction. 0.9 is 9/10. The column after the decimal point is the tenths column. So we have 9/10. Question 3, change 7 meters into centimeters. Each 1 meter is made up of 100 centimeters. So if we have 7 meters, we have 7 times 100, which is 700. Question 4, write down a square number that is between 10 and 50. So the square numbers, 1 squared is 1, that's no good. 2 squared is 4, again not big enough. 3 squared is 9, too small again. 4 squared is 16, so we can put 16. We could also put 5 squared, which is 25, 6 squared, which is 36, or 7 squared, which is 49. Any of those is okay for the answer. Question 5, work out 50% of 240. 50% is half, so half of 240 is 120. We can also use the calculator. If we do 50% times 50% of 240, 50% times 240 is 120. Question 6. Lydia works for 4 hours. She is paid £50. How much is Lydia paid per hour? So we've got £50 for 4 hours. So if we do 50 and divide it by 4, we get 12.5 or £12.50. So we've got £12.50 per hour. Question 7. Here is a 3D shape. Write down the name of this 3D shape. We have a cone. So cone is the answer. In the space below, draw a sketch of a triangular prism. So a prism is a shape that has the same cross section the whole way through. If you cut it at any point, you'll find the same shape. And this is a triangular prism, so it's a triangle the whole way through. So we draw a triangle for the front, and then we just extend it back. So it's a triangle the whole way through the shape. Like that. Question 8. Curtis needs to buy some items for his sports club. Here are the prices. So footballs are £9.50 each. He's going to buy 5 footballs. So it's £9.50 and 5 of them. So 5 lots of £9.50 is £47.50. So that's £47.50 for the footballs. Hockey sticks are £30 for 2, and we need to buy 6. So we're going to get 3 lots of 2. So 3 lots of 2 hockey sticks makes 6 hockey sticks, and 30 times 3 is £90. Cricket bats, £23 each, and we need 2 of them. So 2 23s, 46. And tennis balls, £5 for 4. He needs 4. So it's just £5. So now we just add them all up and see how much the total cost is. So we have £47.50, £90, £46, and £5. So the total is £188.50. Curtis has £200 to spend, show that he can buy all the items he needs. So he can buy all the items he needs because it costs £188.50. So the total cost is £188.50. Question 9. Harris is buying a shirt and tie. He has a choice of 3 colours of shirt and a choice of 3 styles of tie. Harris is going to choose 1 shirt and 1 tie, list all the possible combinations. So we can just use the letters instead of writing them all out. So we can have a white shirt and a plain tie, a white shirt and a striped tie, or a white shirt and a checked tie. That's all the options for the white shirt. Then we move on to blue. Blue and plain, blue and striped, blue and checked. And then grey, it can be grey and plain, grey and striped, and grey and checked. So they are all the possible combinations. Question 10. There are 24 red counters, 40 blue counters in a bag. Write down the ratio of red to blue in its simplest form. So the ratio of red to blue is 24 to 40. We need to simplify this. So what I'll do, I'll write 24 over 40. I'll write it as a fraction. And then the calculator will simplify it for me. So 24 goes to 3 and 40 goes to 5. So it's 3/5. You could also divide both sides by 8 and you'll get the same. So 3 to 5. Rima is going to roll a fair 6-sided dice. Choose the word that best describes the probability it will land on a 3. So we've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting a 3. So it's not impossible. And it's not evens. Evens means a half chance. So it must be unlikely. Choose the word that best describes the probability the dice will land on an odd number. So there are 3 odd numbers, 1, 3 and 5, and 3 even numbers, 2, 4 and 6. So it's evens. There's a half chance of getting an odd. Question 12. A car travels at an average speed of 37 miles an hour for 3 hours. Work out the distance. So 37 miles every hour for 3 hours. It's 37 times 3. 3 37s is 111. So 111 miles. Question 13. Milo is finding the area of the rectangle. He writes the area is 400 because 5 times 4 times 5 times 4 is 400. Explain what is wrong with Milo's method. So the area of a rectangle is just the base times the height, or the length times the width. So it should be just 5 times 4, which is 20. We measure area in squares. So if we've got 5 going along and 4 going down, there are 20 squares. 5 times 4 is 20. So what is wrong with Milo's method? He's multiplied all of the sides instead of the length times the width. So he multiplied all the lengths. It should be just length times width. Anya works out the area of the shape. Her answer is 86 centimeters. Explain why her answer cannot be fully correct. It should be centimeters squared. So I'll write it should be 5 times 4, which is 20 centimeters squared. But I think we can also say here, area is measured in centimeters squared. Question 14. 3 kilograms of flour costs £4.05. And then we're told 5 kilograms of flour and 6 kilograms of sugar costs £11.85. And we need to work out the cost of 2 kilograms of flour and 5 kilograms of sugar. So what we're going to do first is work out the cost of 1 kilogram of flour. Then we'll use that to find 1 kilogram of sugar. And then we'll be able to answer the question. So let's start with the flour. We know 3 kilograms costs £4.05. So to find 1 kilogram, we divide by 3. So £4.05 divided by 3 is £1.35. So 1 kilogram costs £1.35. We're now going to use that to work out the sugar, and we're going to need 5 kilograms of flour. So 5 kilograms will cost £1.35 times 5. So £1.35 for each kilogram. We've got 5, so we're at £6.75. And 5 kilograms of flour, which is this, and 6 kilograms of sugar cost £11.85. So if we take this off of our £11.85, £11.85 take away £6.75 is £5.10. So £11.85 take away £6.75 is £5.10, and that must be £5.10 must be 6 kilograms of sugar. So 6 kilograms for sugar costs £5.10. So divide by 6 this time to find 1 kilogram, and that's 85p. So now we know the price of 1 kilogram of sugar and 1 kilogram of flour. We can answer the question. So we want 2 kilograms of flour, 2 times 135, and 5 kilograms of sugar, 5 times 85p. So 2 135s and 5 85p's makes £6.95. So that must be our answer. So £6.95. Question 15. Martha and Nabil share £120. Martha gets 72% of the money. She spends 30% of the money she gets. How much money does Martha have left? So she gets 72% of £120. So we can either do 72% times of 120, which will get us to £86.40. Or we could change it to a decimal. We could do 0.72 times 120, which will get us the same answer. £86.40. So it's £86.40. That's how much money she gets. She spends 30%. How much does she have left? So we need to take 30% of this away. So we've got two options. We can either work out 30% and then take it off, or we could just work out 100% take away 30%, which is 70%. I'll work out 30%. I'll do it in 2 steps. So 30% of £86.40. Again, 30% times £86.40. Type it into the calculator. So 30% or 0.3 times the answer is £25.92. So that's how much she spends. She spends 30%. So what does she have left? She's got £86.40. Take away £25.92. £86.40. Take away my last answer. That is £60.48. So that is the answer, £60.48. And I'll just show you, if you had worked out, instead of working out 30% and taking it off, we could have just worked out 70% of £86.40, and we would have got the same, £60.48. Question 16. 160 people were asked to choose their favourite type of book. They chose from romance or adventure or horror or thriller, so 4 options. 85 of these people were children. The rest were adults. So what I'm going to do, we're going to draw a 2-way table for this. So we're going to have romance as one option, adventure, horror, thriller, and total. And then we're going to have children, adults, and total again. And I'll draw a table. And then just start filling in the information. So there were 160 people in total. So I'm going to write the 160 in the total. 85 children. The rest were adults. I'll work that out in a second. 19 of the 33 who chose romance were children. So 33 chose romance. 19 of them were children. 34 of the 76 who chose adventure were adults. So 76 chose adventure. 34 of them were adults. And 7 adults chose thriller. The number of children who chose thriller was the same as the number of adults that chose horror. So children thriller, adults horror is the same number. Work out the total number of people who chose horror. You must show how you get your answer. So now we can just fill in the blanks. So to work out the number of adults, 160, take away 85. 160, take away 85 is 75. Then 33 take away 19 will tell us the number of adults that chose romance. That's 14. Then 76 take away 34. That's children who chose adventure, 42. Then we can work out this X actually. If we do 75, we'll see what we've got. We've got 14, 34, 7 and something add up to 75. So 14 and 34 and 7 make 55. So this must be a 20. So this must be 20, which means this must be 20. So we've got 27 here. We want the total number of people that chose horror. So we want this box. So it's 160, the total. Take away the 27, take away the 76, and the 33, which leaves us with 24. So this missing one should be 4, and we'll check it works. 19, 42, 4, and 20 should be 85, and it is. So the total number of people that chose horror was 24. A stem and leaf. So here are the heights in centimeters of 16 sunflowers. Show this information in a stem and leaf diagram. we're going to have the stems as our tens. So 16, 17, 18, and 19. So 16, 17, 18, and 19. And then we're just going to fill these in. So 160 is going to be 16 and a 0. So 16, 0 is 160. It was centimeters. So I'm going to start with all the zeros in the ones. So I've got two 180s. So that's 0, 0. I've got no ones. No, I do. 191. And then onto the twos. I've got 162. Two 172s. Threes, 173 and 183. Fours is 184. Fives, there are none. I've got 186. I've got 177 and 197. And then eights, 168, 178, and 188. 168, 178, 188. So it's a stem and leaf diagram. So they're in order, all the numbers, and we've split off the tens from the ones. So this is 160, 162, 168, 172, 172, 173, and so on. And the key shows what we've done. So 16, 0 means 160 centimeters. We could have written any of them in. So we could have written 19/1 is 191 centimeters. Question 18, work out. So give your answer as a decimal and write down all the figures on your display. We can just type this in exactly how we see it. So 9.8 plus 6.8 divided by 4.2 times 2.1. So as a decimal, write down all the figures on your display. So it's 1.88208. $6168. And then part B, write your answer to two decimal places. That's 1.88. The number that comes next is a 2. So it's 4 or lower. It's not 5 or above. So it stays the same. 1.88. It's closer to 1.88 than it is to 1.89. Question 19. The diagram shows a quadrilateral ABDE, so the four-sided shape, and an equilateral triangle BCD. CB, C to B, this one here, is parallel to D to E, and we can see that from the arrows on the lines. Angle AED is 132, that's shown on the diagram. Work out the size of the angle X. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. Let's start with the equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle has got all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. So all the angles in the equilateral triangle are equal and they add up to 180 degrees. So all of the angles are 60. All angles in an equilateral triangle equal 60 degrees. Then we're going to use the parallel lines next. So when we have parallel lines, which are these lines, this line and this line, and we have a line going through them, which is this line, BD, it makes the same angles at both intersections. So this 60-degree angle here, this 60-degree angle here will be the same as this angle here. And then this 60-degree angle here, we can use opposite angles. So opposite angles are equal. So if this angle is 60 degrees, the one opposite it is also 60 degrees. And then we could use corresponding angles. So this angle is 60 because this angle is 60. Or alternatively, we could use alternate angles. So when we make the kind of Z shape between our parallel lines, the two in the Z are both 60 degrees. So when we have parallel lines, it makes the same angles at both intersections. So these two are both 60. The other two, which is this one and this one, will both be 120 because angles in a straight line make 180 degrees. So we've got 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 60 degrees, 120 degrees at both intersections. So I'm just going to say that alternate angles are equal because that's the most direct one. So that's, say BDE is 60 degrees, and I can just say alternate angles. And I'll just write R equal. So now we've got angles in a four-sided shape. We've got a 132, a 60, a right angle, so a 90 degrees, and an X. So 132 plus 60 plus 90, 132, 60, and 90 makes 282. So we've got 282 degrees. The angles in a four-sided shape always add up to 360. So 360, take away the answer, is 78 degrees. And the reason, we're given a reason for each stage of our working. The angles in a quadrilateral always add to 360 degrees. So X is 78. Question 20. Complete the table of values for y equals x squared minus x minus 2. So we're given all the x values, so we just need to substitute them in. So it's going to be something squared minus something minus 2. So for the 3 squared minus 3 minus 2. And I'm going to use the calculator. So when I've got a 3, I'm going to put the 3 inside the brackets. So 3 squared minus 3 minus 2 is 4. The same for the 2. 2 squared minus 2 minus 2, that's 0. 0 squared minus 0 minus 2 will be negative 2. And we're going to get a symmetrical pattern here. So we should get a 0 out for negative 1. But I will type it in. When we type this into the calculator, we need to be careful. We need the bracket around the negative 1, or the calculator will think we're doing take away 1 squared. So negative 1 squared should give an answer of 1, not negative 1. Negative times a negative is a positive. So we should be getting 0 out here. And then that will be a symmetrical shape. And it's symmetrical because it's a quadratic. It's an x squared graph. So it's a quadratic graph which has a symmetrical shape. Now we're just going to draw the graph on the grid. So these become our coordinates, negative 2, 4. So x is negative 2, y is 4. So negative 2, 4. Negative 1, 0. 0, -2, then 1, -2, 2, 0, and 3, 4. So we have our symmetrical shape. We need to join them up with a curve. So it looks something like this. And that is our graph. So question 21. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. It's not a rotation, otherwise it would be shaped the other way round. So it must be a reflection. So where's the mirror line? The mirror line is, let's try and get a line on here. Get a dotted line. So the mirror line is going to be here by the looks of it. Let's see if that works. So we are 1.5 away from the mirror line. 1.5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep, this works. So it's a reflection in this line. Now this line is called y equals -x. So for every y value, when you've got 1, you've got the -1 on the x. 2 on the y, -2 on the x. 3 on the y, -3 on the x. So it's a reflection in the line y equals -x. Question 22, expand and simplify. So when we expand, we times the number outside the bracket, or the thing outside the bracket, by both the things inside the bracket. So we can do 3 times 2y. 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times -5 is -15. And we've got 7 times y, which is 7y, and 7 times 2, which is 14. So that's expanded. Simplifying, we're going to add the things that are the same. So we've got 6y and 7y, which is 13y. And we're taking the sign from in front of the term. So this is -15 plus 14. -15 plus 14 is -1. So we've got 13y minus 1. Part B, factorize fully. So fully, we need to take out everything we possibly can. So there's going to be a number and an x outside the bracket. So what can I bring out? 6 and 15. They're both in the 3 times table. So 3 can come outside. X squared and x have both got an x in them. So x can come outside. 3x times something makes 6x squared. 3 times 2 is 6. X times x is x squared. So 3 times 2 is 6. X times x, x squared. So they multiply to make 6x squared. 3x times something makes 15x. That's 5. Part C, make g the subject of the formula. So that means get g by itself. Whatever we do to one side of an equation, we have to do to the other side. So to get g by itself, I'm going to take 11 away from both sides, which will leave me with f minus 11 equals 3g. Then to get g by itself, at the moment it's multiplied by 3. So I do the opposite of multiplying by 3, which is dividing by 3. So divide both sides by 3. So g is f minus 11 divided by 3. Question 23. Karen is organising a party for a charity. She spends £100 on food, £120 on a hall, £80 on a DJ. She sells 54 tickets, £7.50 each. Work out the percentage profit Karen makes for the charity. So let's work out how much money she makes. It's 54 tickets, £7.50 each. So 54 times £7.50 is £405. So she makes £405. That's how much income she gets. How much does she spend? 100, 120, and 80. That's £300. So she spends 300. So what is her percentage profit? So she has a profit of 405, take away 300, which is £105 profit. So her percentage profit is the profit divided by how much she spent, which was £300, times 100. So to make it a percentage, times it by 100. And that is 35. So it's 35% profit. Question 24. Andrew invests £4,500 in a savings account for 2 years. The account pays compound interest, 3.4% per year. Calculate how much Andrew has in this savings account at the end of the 2 years. So the quickest way to do this, to add on 3.4% in one calculation, is we do 100%, which is what we start with, plus the 3.4%, which is 103.4%. So every year, we want 103.4% of what we had before. So to do that in one calculation, we're going to take our original amount, we're going to times it by our percent, but I'm going to write it as a decimal, so 1.034. So to add on 3.4% in one calculation, I'm timesing by 1.034, and I'm going to do it twice for 2 years. So times 1.034 times 1.034 again, so squared 2 times, and this will give us our answer. So add on 3.4%, and then add on 3.4% to the new amount. So 4,500 times 1.034 squared. So we have £4,811.20. So this is compound interest. So what you can't do is work out 3.4% and then add that on twice, because you need to add on 3.4% the first year and then add 3.4% onto that new amount. Question 25, solve. So 5x minus 14 equals 52 take away x. We need to get x by itself. Let's plus x to both sides to start with. So we get 6x minus 14 equals 52. So as long as we do the same thing to both sides, an equation stays balanced. Now let's plus 14 to both sides to get 6x by itself. So 6x is 66. And then divide both sides by 6. So x is 11. Question 26. Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. Debbie gets £120. Let's use that first. Let's work with that first. So Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. So it's 3 parts to 4 parts to 2 parts. So that's Chris, Debbie, Errol. Debbie gets £120. So Debbie is this one, and it's £120. So split 120 between the 4 parts is £30 each. So each part must be £30, and every part is equal. So we can work out how much each of them have to start with. So we have Chris, Debbie, and Errol. 3 30s and 90. Debbie has 120, we already know that, and 2 30s are 60. So that's how much money they have to start with. And then let's move on to the rest of the question. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some to Errol. And the ratio the money that Chris, Debbie and Errol now have is the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. How much did Chris give to Errol? So the total money is 90, 120 and 60. So £270. So 90 plus 120 plus 60 equals 270. And we can use a calculator for that, of course. So £270. And it's now split in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. So 2 parts to 5 parts to 3 parts. So we know there are 10 parts now. 2 plus 5 plus 3 is 10. 270 divided by 10 is £27. So each part is £27. So now they have 2 27s, which is 54, 5 27s, 135, and 3 27s, which is 81. So how much money did Chris give to Errol? So Errol had £60. He's now got £81. So 81 take away 60 is 21. So Errol has got 21 more pounds. So Chris must have given Errol £21. Question 27. The bearing of port B from port A is 147 degrees. Work out the bearing of port A from port B. So the bearing of B from A is 147. Let's draw a quick diagram. So here's A. And to go from A to B, you have to go 147 degrees. So that's something like that. So 147 degrees to B. And the question is, what is the bearing of A from B? So what is this angle? So a bearing is always measured from the north line clockwise. So how big is this angle? We can use co-interior angles to work out this angle. So imagine you walk down this north line, along this line, and then back up this north line. You would have turned around 180 degrees. So co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. So 180 take away 147 is 33 degrees. And then to find the bearing, 360 take away 33, which will be 327 degrees. So 327 degrees is our answer. That's the bearing of A from B. Question 28. The diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has a radius of 15 and a height of 43. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute. Calculate the number of minutes it takes to fill the tank completely. So we need to work out the volume. So the volume of a cylinder is the area, which is pi r squared, times the height. So in this question, it's pi times 15 squared times 43. So pi times 15 squared times 43. And that is 30,395 centimeters cubed. We need to change that into litres. So 1,000 centimeters cubed is 1 litre. So divide by 1,000, we get 30.4. Let's just call it 30.4 litres. So divide by 1,000. So 30.4 litres. I'm keeping the whole number in the calculator though. So I'm just writing 30.4, but I'm using the whole number. And it's 0.47 litres per minute. So divide by 0.47 and it'll tell us how many minutes. 64.7. Or to the nearest minute, 65 minutes. So 30.4 divided by 0.47 is 65 minutes to the nearest minute. Question 29, right angle triangle with an angle, find the length of AB. It's SOHCAHTOA. So it's not Pythagoras. Pythagoras is just the 3 lengths. This one's SOHCAHTOA. We've got the opposite and the adjacent in the question, not the hypotenuse. So we're not using sine or cos. We're using tan. We're using TOA, one with O and A in it. And TOA means tan with the angle. I won't use x. Tan with the angle is O divided by A. So tan 49 is x divided by 28. To get x by itself, times both sides by 28. So it's 28 times tan 49. 28 times tan 49 is 32.2. So it's 32.2 centimeters. Question 30, solve the simultaneous equations. So to eliminate something here, we need to make it the same. So we can eliminate y by making the y's the same, or eliminate x by making the x's the same. It doesn't really matter which one we do. Let's eliminate x. So times the top one by 4, the bottom one by 3, so the x's will be the same. So we've got 12x plus 4y equals, negative 4.5 times 4 is negative 18. Times the bottom one by 3, 12x plus 9y, negative 3.5 times 3 is negative 10.5. Now we've got them the same, we can eliminate them. So do one equation, take away the other equation. And I want to do the bottom one, take away the top one. So 12x take away 12x is nothing. That's why we're doing it, to eliminate it. 9y take away 4y is 5y. And negative 10.5 take away negative 18. So negative 10.5 take away negative 18. When we take away a negative, we add. So that is 7.5. So 7.5 divided by 5 is 1.5. So y is 1.5. So we've got y. We still need to find x. So let's substitute it back in to our top equation, the one right at the top. So we'll get 3x plus 1.5, changing y into 1.5, equals negative 4.5. Take away 1.5 from both sides. So 3x is negative 6. X must be negative 2. So we've got x as negative 2 and y as 1.5.